In Sweden, around 200 kilometers from Stockholm, there is a town, Örebro. And in Örebro, you can find a school complex, Risbergska. The school was first founded as an elementary school for girls in 1863, but it grew in its size and also in the types of educations they offer in this campus throughout the years. In 2017, they officially opened adult education program. They offer a variety of educational programs such as Swedish for immigrants, adult high school education, special needs adult education, vocational education, which means learning a special trade. On February 4, 2025, the mass shooting took place in Campus Risbergska, more particularly in the building that held adult educational programs. The national exams that took place on that day were just over, and the adults came to school to learn Swedish or to continue their chosen education. At around 12:33 p.m., the mass shooter entered the school, and the worst mass shooting in the country's history took place. Lars Viren, Örebro's police chief, described the events as brutal. The police speaks of what can only be described as inferno, with dead people, injured people, screams, and smoke. In this smoke, they saw a perpetrator armed with a rifle-like weapon, and they thought they were being shot at. The shooter was wearing military clothes, and the shooter started his attack at the entrance of the building and then going deeper into the building. He was stuck with ammunition and smoke grenades. That's why there was a lot of smoke. You can imagine screaming, blood, smoke, confusion. The shooter got the ammunition from both physical store and online. Individuals reacted quickly. They seek cover and attempted to barricade themselves in the classroom. Also, police responds really quickly within the 5 minutes of the shooting. Later on, the student Marva described trying to save the life of a person who has been shot. We opened the door from the classroom and stepped out. We saw someone shooting everywhere. A guy next to me was shot in the shoulder. He was bleeding a lot. People behind this guy were starting to panic and fainting because there was so much blood. Everybody was shocked. They were screaming, "Go out, go out!" Me and my friend tried to save his life. The police was not on the side and neither was the ambulance, so we tried to help. I took my friend's shawl and tied the shawl around his shoulders so he wouldn't bleed so much. The police reacted good, but it took time to realize that the attacker shot himself as well. They didn't know if the attacker is still alive or not. They found 3 rifles around him, so that's why they assume he's an attacker. He had no previous police records. Few hours later, they identified the shooter as Rickard Andersson. He was 35 years old. This was not his original name or the name that his parents gave him. He was previously named Jonas Richard Simon. Simon is actually a French name and quite rare in Sweden. He is probably related to Joseph Simon. He was a glassblower from France, and he moved to Sweden in 1861 with his mother, and then later on married a woman from Sweden. He's supposed to be his great-great-grandfather. I was speculating here a little bit because Simon is such a rare name. He might want to stay a little bit more hidden, not standing out, because Andersson is 5th most common last name in Sweden. He was a local. He was growing up in Örebro. He started to living alone in 2016, and in 2017 he changed his name. He was often dog-sitting for his parents while they were traveling, but outside of that he didn't have much contact with the family. The relatives said the last time they saw him was for his birthday when he turned 35. They said that he barely spoke a word. He was really introverted, really didn't enjoy social contact. The relative also said that he did not spend Christmas with the family and he was really a loner. Also, his neighbors didn't interact with him much, besides hello when they saw each other on the hallway. Since childhood, they noticed extreme social phobia. They said that he even covered his head with a hoodie so people won't look at him, and he often covered his mouth with a hand. He used to have a friend he hung out with a lot, but not now. He wants to be by himself. He doesn't seem to like people, the relative said. Also, the female classmate described him as a little bit odd in middle school. He was really quiet, no particular interest, very withdrawn. She also mentions that he stopped showing one day at school. The police look at his school records and find out that he didn't finish elementary school. In the spring semester of 8th grade and throughout the 9th grade, he failed all the subjects. I am here questioning a little bit, did something happen in the spring semester of 8th grade, and what did the family do? We don't have much information regarding that. Well, we don't have any information regarding that. What caused such a drastic change, or was he struggling even before the 8th grade? Nevertheless, he didn't finish and couldn't apply for high school, but he did went to a special education center called Waldkoping, where he was placed in a special class for individuals with Asperger's syndrome and highly functioning autism. His grades were mixed. He passes aesthetic and history, but fails all other subjects. And this is actually where his first contact with Campus Risbergska took place. He took the classes there in 2013 and between 2019 and 2021. He was registered for several math courses, but in 2021, he dropped out. He never was able to finish school, and based on that, he was repeatedly denied to serve the military, because you cannot get into the military if you don't have high school qualifications. Despite that, he held a hunting license for 4 weapons, which he also used later on during the shooting. They found 3 of them near his body. Police also looked at his taxes, and they saw that actually he did not have any income since 2015. Family helped him here and there, but he was unemployed and was receiving a help from the government. After the shooting, they searched his apartment, and for now it's still unclear how did he live in the digital world. Maybe they will find some more information there, but for now also no manifesto or anything was found. What was interesting that on Reddit somebody found his photos through image reverse search. He found out a bunch of photos from him, from the shooter, on free image host. They are uploaded by a guest, but it's pretty clear that it's him on the photos. And you can see, I will show the video now. You can find his photos from traveling, from growing up. And there is like 4 pages of his photos, how he was in Malta. Basically, it looks like he was traveling a lot. Not sure who was financing his travels, because he didn't have any income. I assume probably his family. Or no, actually, he was receiving some help from the government as well. And we will come back to this later on, because this might be one of the motives. But I will leave the link from this free image host webpage down below so you can look at the photos yourself. Okay, now back to the case. Like I mentioned, he had no prior criminal record, and police is sure that he acted alone. When he was found dead, the 3 of his weapons were lying beside him. According to police, around 10 empty magazines and also large amount of unused ammunition were also found. What could the motive be? In this part of the video, we will first look at who lost their life in this tragic shooting. And then at the end of the video, we will look at the possible motives. 10 people were killed and 6 were in the hospital. And among those who were killed was also Salim. He was originally from Syria and escaped Syrian war in 2015 and came to Sweden. He was working as a care worker in the elderly home and was studying in Risbergska campus to become assistant nurse. This summer should be really special for him because he and his fiancée were planning a wedding. They're supposed to get married in July 25th. They already bought a house together, wanted to travel the world and build a future together. His fiancée said that he contacted her and told her, "I have been shot, they shot us. He told me he loves me, and that's the last thing I heard from him." She was keep messaging him, she was calling him, but nobody answered. She said it's really hard, that she still wants to believe that maybe he will come home. The family and her cannot sleep. They stand by the window waiting for his return. No one wants to believe he's dead. The second victim was Bassam. He was 48 years old and he worked as a baker. He is a father of 2. He came from Lebanon to Sweden 9 years ago. He was in the school because he wanted to improve his Swedish. He was extremely outgoing person and he loved TikTok. He was recording videos and went live on TikTok while baking at work or cooking. Before the Swedish lesson on Tuesday, he actually stopped by at the workplace, had a coffee with a colleague, and now he will never return. Just 15 minutes before the shooting, he posted a video on TikTok wishing everybody a great day. He was such a driven person. He had been working since the very first day he arrived in Sweden. He always had a smile on his face and spread joy. His third victim was Nilofar. She is from Iran and she lived in Sweden since 2011. She also studied to become a nurse assistant at school. Around lunchtime, she called her husband, everything was okay, and this is the last conversation they had. The fourth victim was Ilza. She was 32 years old and originally from Eritrea. She came to Sweden in 2015. She was actually working 2 jobs, one in the elderly home and the second job was a contact person in the LSS care system. In Sweden, there is a law that provides support and service for people with certain disabilities, and she was working as a contact person. She was studying to become a nurse, that's why she was there at the campus that day. Her husband was staying in Italy, and they were both working really hard to rejoin their family. They already applied in immigration agency for the husband to join, and they were waiting their decision. She was really ambitious and planned to continue her study to become a doctor, but now her dreams are gone. Eva was one of the locals from Örebro. She had 2 adult kids and she studied to become a nurse assistant. She worked many jobs. At the beginning of her working career was more operational roles, logistic. She actually drove a forklift at some point, but she slowly transitioned to a caregiving supporting roles in her profession. Her friends wrote on Facebook, "Did you try to stop him? Did you try to help someone who got shot before you? Because that's how you are. Everyone knows that. We lost the most caring, energetic, beautiful human being on Tuesday. You will be so damn missed at all the rides, swaps, parties, and coffee nights." The 6th victim was Selma from Bosnia and Herzegovina. She was 55 years old and she also studied to become a nurse assistant. In Bosnia, she worked at Vesta Association. This is a non-governmental organization. They have a different areas where they specialize, like social support, humanitarian aid, community development, and so on. And she came to Sweden to better her life. The 7th victim was Camila. She was a mom of 3 and 52 years old. She as well nearly finished her training to become a nurse assistant. She loved traveling, cooking, baking, fishing, and time with her family. Her husband wrote that losing the one you love is a difficult one. Fate hit us so incredibly hard. The 8th victim was Ali. He was 31 years old from Afghanistan, and he and his wife fled Afghanistan because of the war. They would cross Iranian-Turkish border and came to Sweden. They thought that in Sweden they are safe. He was studying to become a janitor to support his family. They have 2 children together, 2 girls, 8 and 11. Ali gave his older daughter a fluffy diary with a silver heart-shaped lock, and this gift became his final present. In the diary, his daughter has been writing down her thoughts about where her dad has gone since Tuesday. She has described how her mother called the police and emergency service, desperate to gain some answers about Ali's whereabouts, but he never came home. She doesn't want her mother to go to school where she is studying to become a care assistant. The mother is going to the same school, and the daughter is worried a lot that the mom will also disappear. My daughter said to me, "Mom, I am only 11 years old. I can't take care of my little sister alone if you die." The 9th victim was Aziza. She was loving, charming, and independent. She came to Sweden in 90s from Iraqi Kurdistan, and she chose to train both civil engineering and high school teacher diploma. She was 68 years old. For 20 years, she worked as a math teacher in Sweden, and the last 7 years, she worked as a math teacher in Campus Risbergska. She was supposed to retire this summer. She had a YouTube channel with 120,000 subscribers, and she was holding a math lessons in Kurdish. She wanted to reach her people and teach them math. She helped an incredible number of people in their lives, enabling them to build their careers, advance in the workforce, and support themselves. She made everyone feel important. This was the joint statement that her 7 siblings gave. The 10th victim was Kamal. She was 38 from Somalia, and she actually fled the civil war 17 years ago. She even became a Swedish citizen. She was a single mother of 3. Her 2 olders are 15 and 11, and the youngest one is 2. After the school, she planned to go to IKEA because they just moved apartments, and she wanted to make sure that everybody has everything they need. She wanted to get some kitchenware and some things for children's rooms. She was in the school to improve the language so she could continue her education as a nurse or a preschool teacher, and she was also open to become a social worker. I wanted to go through the victims first, and I shared their nationalities because anti-immigrant attack might be one of the motives. There is the footage circling around the internet when one person hid himself in the bathroom. And in the recording you can hear the shots and also screams and words. And Swedish media clear up the audio recording, and they hear someone saying, "You should be gone from Europe." I will try to say it in Swedish. Ni ska bort från Europa. Now some people said that he is not saying that, but he is saying, "All of you have to go." This means that maybe perpetrators said that all of you have to go, or somebody else, "All of you have to go, get out of school." Some people say it's pretty clear that he is saying get out of Europe, and why people are not accepting that this might be a reason. And some people say, no, it's not really clear because there is a word alihopa, which means everyone, and basically that he is saying all of you have to go. But the truth is, he was somewhat familiar with the school. He planned the attack later on because in the mornings there were these national exams. I assume the kids were taking them. So he came to school after lunch. So he was targeting adults, not sure. And also why so many nursing students were killed is because the nursing class took place at the school entrance. The second motive might be the conflict with the social services. This might be connected with the school because he couldn't finish the school, he couldn't work in military as he wanted to because he tried many times to apply. He was receiving the support from the government, and what happened is that the government sent him a letter letting him know that he will not receive a support anymore because he didn't apply to the jobs. If you are receiving a support, you should actively search for a job, and it looks like he didn't, and he also wasn't taking any education. Swedish media also shared a video clip where he is lying in bed, then sitting up, taking a sip of water, and start talking about welfare support. He reads the letter. This month you have been selected for a random spot check. This means you must provide documents and invoices related to your application. And in the letter is also mentioned that they will withdraw his welfare support if he is not providing the documents. This was in 2021. Around the same time he dropped out from his studies. So what do you think the motive was? I think both of them are quite believable, and I don't think that one cancels the other. For now, we will see what the police will find on his computer, but I am not eliminating any of the motives. After this event, the Sweden is in grief. The grief is bottomless. They call for a gun law restriction, and also they challenge open school policies because the school doors are open, so anybody from the street have a free access to the school. So probably they will now start closing the schools. I will read one quote that friend of one of the victims wrote. One cannot understand that this is a city in which we have lived, worked, learned the language for the last 30 years, where we spend time with our children and grandchildren in parks, cinemas, museums. Swinging into the safety of this city, we became part of it. We work to advance the city, this country. We don't want the separation on us or them. We are all us, because this is our country too. Örebro is our city and we love it as much as you do. And also one person on Reddit mentioned, what is really touching is to see how communities step together. The compassion, the love and courage shown by so many ordinary people in the face of such a horrendous violence shows that there is still hope for humanity. This is the case of the Swedish Wars mass shooting. Share your thoughts in the comment and please help this channel out by subscribing and liking the video. See you next time.